The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and Maya Rodriguez stepped out onto the marble floors of Sterling and Associates, her heels clicking rapidly as she checked her watch. 8:17 a.m. 17 minutes late. Again. She clutched her coffee cup tighter, navigating the maze of glass offices. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, but today something felt different. The usual buzz seemed muted, replaced by sideways glances and whispered exchanges. Maya's breath caught as she spotted Janet Morrison, her supervisor, standing by reception, with arms crossed, lips pressed into that familiar thin line of disapproval. "Maya, my office, now!" Janet's voice carried across the room like a blade. As Maya walked toward what felt like her execution, she thought about the morning that led to this moment. Her mother Elena had experienced another difficult night with advancing dementia, calling out for Maya's late father. Maya had spent precious morning minutes helping her remember where she was, gently coaxing her to take medication before rushing 8-year-old Sophia to school. The bus had been delayed by construction, adding another layer to Maya's already fragmented routine. She'd stood at the stop, watching minutes tick by, knowing each delay would be another mark against her in Janet's attendance record. But what Maya didn't know was that this day would change everything, just not in the way she expected. Maya Rodriguez was 28, but carried herself with wisdom born from facing life's challenges head-on. Every morning began the same way, a delicate dance of caregiving, motherhood, and professional ambition. She'd wake at 5:30, aiming to check on Elena, who lived in the converted garage apartment behind Maya's modest house. Elena Rodriguez had been vibrant once, a teacher who immigrated from Guatemala with dreams of giving her daughter better opportunities. Now, at 68, dementia was slowly stealing the brilliant mind that had helped Maya with homework in 2 languages. After ensuring Elena took morning medication and ate breakfast, Maya would wake Sophia, who had inherited her grandmother's bright smile and her mother's stubborn streak. The morning routine left no room for delays. But life rarely followed the script. Sterling and Associates occupied 3 floors of a gleaming downtown high-rise, its walls lined with awards from Fortune 500 campaigns. The firm prided itself on precision, excellence, and old-school professionalism, code for conformity above all else. Janet Morrison had supervised Maya for 2 years, a woman who wore her gray hair in a severe bob and measured success by desk hours rather than output quality. She'd joined Sterling straight from college 28 years ago, never questioning the firm's rigid hierarchy. "Punctuality," Janet often said during meetings, "is the foundation of trust." The irony wasn't lost on Maya that her campaigns consistently outperformed her punctual colleagues. Her innovative strategies had saved the Henderson Industries account. Her social media campaign for Midwest Bank generated 340% increased engagement. Client feedback consistently praised her creativity and strategic thinking, but none of that mattered when she walked through the door at 8:17 instead of 8 o'clock. The late arrivals had started 6 months ago, coinciding with Elena's worsening condition. Maya had tried everything, researching faster routes, preparing everything the night before, even considering hiring morning care that her salary couldn't afford. Understanding had quickly transformed into impatience, then frustration, then hostility. Write-ups appeared in Maya's file with increasing frequency. "Maya, I need improvement in your punctuality," Janet had said during her last review, sliding a disciplinary form across the desk. "Your work quality is excellent, but reliability is non-negotiable." Maya had attempted to explain, asking for flexibility, later start times, making up hours in the evening. Janet's response was ice cold. "Sterling operates on traditional schedules for a reason. Making exceptions wouldn't be fair to others who manage to arrive on time despite personal obligations." But what about results-based performance? "My campaigns have generated more revenue." Maya, talent doesn't excuse unprofessionalism. Her colleagues' reactions were mixed. David Chen from Creative was sympathetic, whispering encouragement during coffee breaks. Others, like Rebecca Walsh, made subtle comments about earning your place through consistency. Maya's biggest motivation remained the work itself. She loved understanding clients' needs and translating them into compelling campaigns. When she worked on Peterson Electronics, she'd spend hours researching demographics, conducting informal interviews, crafting messaging that spoke to actual needs rather than corporate assumptions. The campaign exceeded expectations by 280%. Yet none of that seemed to matter at 8:17 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The morning of her termination started worse than usual. Elena had awakened at 3 a.m., convinced she was late for teaching, a job she'd retired from 8 years earlier. Maya spent 2 hours gently redirecting her mother's anxiety before Elena finally fell back asleep. Sophia was cranky at breakfast, having forgotten to study for a math test. The bus was 12 minutes late due to an accident. Maya stood at the stop, watching minutes tick by with increasing dread. Walking into Sterling that morning, Maya felt 3 years of dedication crashing against a workplace that valued appearance over substance. Janet's office was a shrine to corporate achievement. Diplomas, awards, executive photographs lined the walls. The woman sat behind a massive mahogany desk, fingers steepled. As Maya entered, "Sit down, Maya. I think we both know why you're here. This is the 7th time in 6 weeks you've arrived late. We've had multiple conversations. You've received written warnings, yet the behavior continues." Maya opened her mouth, but Janet held up a hand. "Your employment with Sterling and Associates is terminated, effective immediately." The words hit like a physical blow. Despite expecting this moment, hearing it felt surreal. "Janet, please, can we discuss my overall performance? The Henderson account I saved, the Peterson campaign that exceeded projections, client satisfaction ratings that consistently rank me among top performers?" Janet's expression didn't soften. "Maya, your technical skills have never been questioned, but this industry demands reliability, consistency, professionalism. When clients can't count on their account manager being present during business hours, it reflects poorly on the entire firm." "But I've never missed a client meeting, never failed to deliver projects on time." "This decision is final." Janet pulled out a manila envelope. "Your final paycheck, benefits information and separation agreement. Security will escort you to collect belongings." The security escort was the most humiliating part. Marcus, the lobby guard who'd greeted Maya warmly for 3 years, now walked silently as she packed her desk into a cardboard box. Colleagues watched with sympathy and relief. Relief they weren't the ones being escorted out. 3 years of professional life reduced to items fitting in a single box. Walking to her car, Maya sat staring at concrete walls, processing what had happened. Then the tears came. For the job she'd loved, the financial security lost, the uncertainty looming over her family's future. That evening, helping Sophia with homework while Elena dozed nearby, her daughter asked the question that cut deepest. "Mommy, did you lose your job because of Grandma?" Maya looked into worried eyes and realized this moment would define how Sophia understood sacrifice and priorities forever. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups make different choices about what's important. Grandma needs our help, and that's not something I'll apologize for. Losing my job just means I get to find a better one." The weeks following termination were Maya's darkest, since Sophia's father had walked out. Unemployment benefits provided minimal relief, and the job market was more competitive than anticipated. Interview after interview ended the same way. Impressed by her portfolio but concerned about her sudden departure from Sterling, Maya crafted careful explanations painting her termination as mutual decision to pursue new opportunities, but the lie felt heavy. Savings dwindled as she struggled with household expenses, Alina's medical costs and Sophia's needs. She'd wake at 3 a.m. calculating remaining resources, wondering how long they could survive. The emotional toll was heavier than financial. Maya had always defined herself through professional achievements, her ability to provide, her reputation for overcoming obstacles. Now, sitting in sweatpants at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, she felt like a fraud. But during one dark night, an unexpected lifeline appeared. Thomas Whitfield, marketing director at Henderson Industries, emailed, "Maya, I heard you're no longer with Sterling, and I wanted to reach out. Your work on our campaign was exceptional. Would you be available for coffee? I have a proposition that might interest you." They met at a small cafe, and Thomas got straight to the point. "The work Sterling has delivered since you left has been mediocre. We've had 3 different account managers in 4 months. I'm authorized to offer you a consulting contract, 6 months, with a budget larger than your Sterling salary." Maya felt her heart racing. But Thomas continued, "What if I told you several companies feel this way? What if you don't need another job? Maybe you need to start your own firm." The idea hit with revelatory force. She'd been so focused on finding another position, another supervisor, another company to validate her worth, that she'd never considered creating her own path. That night, Maya sat at her kitchen table with a legal pad, sketching business plans, calculating startup costs, designing something entirely her own. For the first time in months, Maya Rodriguez went to bed feeling like herself again. The transformation began with a single decision. Maya would stop asking permission to succeed and start creating her own opportunities. She developed a comprehensive business plan for precision marketing, a name that felt like a gentle nod to her former employer's punctuality obsession, while emphasizing her commitment to delivering exactly what clients needed. Financial planning was daunting. Maya secured a small business loan, liquidated modest retirement savings, and committed to 18 months of uncertainty. But she felt like she was moving towards something, rather than running from it. Henderson Industries was her first official client, and Thomas Whitfield's confidence proved contagious. Word spread through Chicago's business community about the marketing consultant who had transformed Henderson's brand positioning. David Chen was the first Sterling colleague to reach out about joining her consultancy. "Maya, Sterling treats creativity like assembly line process. You're treating it like art." Within 6 months, Maya assembled a talented team, sharing her vision of client-focused, results-driven campaigns. They worked from a converted warehouse, splitting rent with graphic designers and writers, who created a collaborative environment buzzing with energy. The contrast with Sterling's sterile corporate environment was striking. Maya's team started when they were most creative and productive. They measured success by client satisfaction and campaign performance, not hours logged or meetings attended. Maya's work-life balance improved dramatically. She could schedule meetings around Elena's appointments, work from home during difficult days, attend Sophia's school events without guilt. By year's end, Precision Marketing had secured 8 major clients and was generating revenue exceeding Maya's former Sterling salary. But real validation came from clients themselves. Maya had developed an approach prioritizing deep understanding of each business's unique challenges. A local restaurant chain hired them after years of declining sales. Maya's team spent weeks eating at restaurants, talking to customers, understanding dining choices. The resulting campaign increased sales by 190% and helped owners remember why they'd fallen in love with the food industry. Maya began arriving early to everything, not from fear of being late, but from excitement about work and relationships she was building. 18 months after starting Precision Marketing, David Chen burst into Maya's office with shocking news. "Sterling & Associates is going under. Bankruptcy. They're selling assets, laying off employees." Maya felt complex emotions wash over her. Small vindication that the company firing her for 17 minutes was facing its own failures, but genuine sadness for former colleagues who had nothing to do with toxic management culture. After Maya and David left Sterling, several other talented employees had followed suit. Janet Morrison had been promoted to senior supervisor, but her micromanaging had alienated staff and clients. Projects were delivered late, creative work was stifled, and the firm's innovation reputation had evaporated. Then Maya received an unexpected call. Ms. Rodriguez, this is Patricia Hendricks from Midwest Business Solutions. We're handling Sterling's asset liquidation, and I understand you have history with the company. We've received an inquiry about whether you might be interested in purchasing the company's assets. Maya sat in stunned silence. You're asking if I want to buy Sterling and Associates? Essentially, yes. Company name, client relationships, office lease, equipment, everything needed to continue operations. The asking price is quite reasonable given circumstances. After ending the call, Maya stared out at Chicago's skyline. Purchasing the company that fired her felt surreal, like revenge fantasy rather than real business proposition. But this wasn't about revenge, it was about redemption. Not just for herself, but for talented people undervalued by Sterling's rigid culture. She called Thomas Whitfield to discuss the opportunity. Maya, you have the chance to transform a company representing everything wrong with traditional business culture. Imagine what Sterling could become under your leadership. The negotiation was straightforward. Sterling's owners faced personal financial ruin and were eager to find a buyer who could take over debts and maintain employee continuity. The most surreal moment was sitting across from Janet Morrison to finalize acquisition details. Janet looked older, her usually perfect appearance showing stress and exhaustion. The woman who once wielded authority like a weapon now sat uncomfortably in a chair, no longer representing power. Maya, Janet said quietly, I owe you an apology. I was wrong about you. I was so focused on rules and procedures that I lost sight of what actually mattered. Results, innovation, treating people with respect. I let my own insecurities about control override my judgment about talent. Maya felt carried anger beginning to soften. Janet, I appreciate you saying that. I know this situation can't be easy for you either. Janet's eyes filled with tears she was trying to suppress. I've been in this business 28 years, and I thought I knew what success looked like. But watching what you've built, seeing how clients specifically sought you out, I realize I confused control with leadership. Maya reached across the table, placing her hand gently on Janet's arm. We all make mistakes, Janet. What matters is what we learn from them. The signing was completed at exactly 2:00 p.m., not from punctuality obsession, but because Maya had learned to respect others' time while honoring her own priorities. Walking through Sterling and Associates' owner, Maya felt profound completion. The marble floors that once witnessed her humiliation now reflected her success. Her first official act was addressing remaining Sterling employees, 12 people who had survived the company's decline and were understandably nervous about their futures. I know many of you remember me, Maya began in the same conference room where she'd once presented the Henderson campaign. Some supported me during difficult times. Others watched silently as I was escorted out. I'm not here to relitigate the past or settle scores. I'm here because I believe this company can become something better. She outlined her vision: flexible schedules prioritizing results over FaceTime, collaborative decision-making, family-friendly policies, and culture valuing innovation over conformity. 7 of 12 employees chose to stay. Maya hired back former Sterling employees who had left due to toxic culture, including David as creative director. The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 months, the new Sterling and Associates had recovered 4 lost major clients and secured 3 new ones. Office energy shifted from fear-based compliance to enthusiastic collaboration. Maya instituted Whole Life Wednesdays, encouraging employees to bring family members, creating an environment where Sophia could do homework while Elena visited with staff who appreciated her wisdom on good days. 18 months after acquisition, Sterling was featured in Chicago Business Magazine as one of the city's most innovative marketing firms. But what meant most to Maya was an employee quote. Maya Rodriguez didn't just save our jobs, she showed us what work could look like when leaders actually care about people who make success possible. Today, as Maya walks into her office each morning, sometimes at 7:30, sometimes at 9:15, depending on family needs. She carries knowledge that setbacks are not endings, they're redirections. The woman once fired for being 17 minutes late now leads a company measuring success not by clock watching, but by positive impact on clients' businesses and employees' lives. Sophia, now 11, often tells friends her mom bought the place that was mean to her and made it nice. Elena, despite advancing condition, still has moments of clarity where she smiles proudly. Mija, you showed them what we're made of. Maya's story reminds us that sometimes the worst thing that happens becomes the catalyst for the best thing we never imagined possible. When life fires you for not fitting someone else's narrow success definition, maybe it's time to write your own job description. What started as humiliating termination became the foundation for a business empire built on human dignity and authentic success. Maya's journey proves that when we stop asking permission to be ourselves and start creating spaces where others can do the same, we don't just change our own lives, we transform entire industries. Have you ever been undervalued at work because of circumstances beyond your control? Maya's story shows us that companies prioritizing humanity over bureaucracy aren't just better places to work, they're more successful, innovative, and sustainable. If this story inspired you to think differently about leadership, workplace culture, or your own potential, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what resonated most. Share your own experiences with workplace challenges and how you overcame them. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you want more stories about people who turned their biggest setbacks into greatest comebacks, subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. Every week, we share real stories about ordinary people who refuse to let circumstances define their destiny. Remember, sometimes being late to someone else's game means you're right on time for your own. The question isn't whether you'll face setbacks, it's what you'll build from the pieces when you do. Until next time, keep believing in your own worth, keep fighting for what matters, and keep writing your own success story. The world needs what you have to offer, even if your current situation can't see it yet. 6 months after the incident that would become legendary in their neighborhood, Maya's cafe had transformed into something even more special than before. The story of what happened that rainy Tuesday morning had spread far beyond the immediate community, drawing visitors from across Seattle who wanted to experience the place where dignity had triumphed over prejudice. Maya stood behind the familiar counter, but now she wasn't alone. Beside her worked Elena Rodriguez, a young woman from El Salvador whose own accent carried the musical rhythms of Central America. On the other side, David Kim, a recent graduate from Korea, practiced his English with customers while crafting beautiful latte art. Maya had deliberately hired a diverse team, creating opportunities for immigrants like herself to build careers in hospitality. Mrs. Chen, Elena said during a quiet afternoon moment, using the respectful title despite Maya's repeated requests to just call her Maya. The reporter from Seattle Weekly is here for your interview. Maya looked up to see a young journalist setting up her recording equipment at the corner table. The story of Maya's cafe had caught the attention of local media, not just for the dramatic confrontation, but for the way it had sparked a broader conversation about respect, dignity, and the immigrant experience in America. As Maya sat down for the interview, she reflected on how much had changed. The cafe wasn't just serving coffee anymore, it had become a symbol. Every week, she received emails from people sharing their own stories of discrimination and triumph. Some were immigrants like herself. Others were people who had simply been judged unfairly for how they looked, sounded, or where they came from. Ms. Chen, the reporter began, your story has resonated with thousands of people. What do you think it is about that Tuesday morning that has struck such a chord? Maya considered the question carefully. I think people recognize something universal in what happened. We all have moments when we're judged unfairly, when someone makes assumptions about who we are based on something superficial. But more importantly, we all have the choice of how to respond to those moments. The reporter nodded, scribbling notes. And Marcus Webb? What's your relationship with him now? Maya smiled, glancing toward the window where, right on schedule, she could see Marcus approaching. Why don't you ask him yourself? Marcus entered the cafe, and the transformation in him was remarkable. Gone was the arrogant swagger, replaced by a humble confidence that came from genuine self-reflection. He'd kept his word about change, becoming an advocate for inclusive business practices and donating significantly to organizations that helped immigrants start their own businesses. Good afternoon, Maya, Marcus said, his voice warm with genuine respect. The usual? Please, Maya replied, then turned to the surprised reporter. Marcus comes in 3 times a week now. He's become one of our most valued customers. As Maya prepared Marcus's order, a simple medium coffee, black, no attitude required, he sat down with the reporter to share his side of the story. That morning changed my life, Marcus said quietly. Not just because I was embarrassed about being wrong, but because Maya showed me what grace looks like. She could have destroyed me professionally, personally. Instead, she chose to educate me. The reporter leaned forward, intrigued. What did that education look like? Marcus accepted his coffee from Maya with a thank you that carried 6 months of gratitude. She invited me to volunteer at the International District Community Center, helping immigrants navigate business licensing. She introduced me to families who had left everything behind to chase the American dream. She helped me understand that an accent isn't a sign of ignorance. It's a sign of courage. It's a sign of immigrants' responsibility, not courage. Maya rejoined the conversation, sitting across from both of them. Marcus has helped 3 families open their own businesses in the past 6 months. He uses his connections in real estate to find affordable commercial spaces for immigrant entrepreneurs. But that's not the most important change, Marcus added. The most important change is that I listen now. Really listen. When I meet someone, I don't make assumptions about their story. I ask questions. I show interest. I treat every person as someone who might teach me something valuable. The interview continued for another hour, but Maya's mind was also on the community that had grown around the cafe. Mrs. Patterson now hosted a weekly English conversation circle every Thursday evening, where immigrants could practice their language skills in a supportive environment. Tommy the electrician had started a job training program, teaching electrical skills to refugees and recent immigrants. Even more meaningful to Maya was the relationship that had developed with her upstairs tenants. The graphic designer Jake had created promotional materials for several immigrant-owned businesses, often at reduced rates. Mrs. Rodriguez from apartment 3B had started teaching traditional cooking classes in the cafe's back room on Sunday afternoons, sharing the flavors of her homeland while building bridges between cultures. As the reporter packed up her equipment, Maya walked her to the door. One last question, the journalist said. What advice would you give to someone facing discrimination? Maya paused, looking out at the street, where people of all backgrounds hurried past, each carrying their own stories, dreams, and challenges. Remember that their prejudice says nothing about your worth and everything about their limitations. Respond with dignity, not because they deserve it, but because you do. And never let someone else's ignorance make you smaller than you are. That evening, as Maya locked up the cafe, she found another note slipped under the door. This one was from a young woman named Amara, recently arrived from Somalia, who had started working at a restaurant downtown. Dear Maya, it read, a customer made fun of my hijab and accent today. I remembered your story and held my head high. Thank you for showing me that grace is stronger than hate. Maya folded the note carefully and added it to the growing collection she kept in her office. Testimonials from people who had found strength in her example. Each note reminded her that the incident with Marcus had been about more than just one man's prejudice and one woman's dignity. It had been about creating ripples of change that spread far beyond the walls of her cafe. As she walked home through the Seattle drizzle, Maya thought about her grandmother's wisdom. Kindness is not weakness. It is the strongest force in the world. 6 months ago, she had chosen kindness over revenge, education over retaliation, hope over bitterness. That choice had not only transformed Marcus Webb, it had transformed an entire community's understanding of what it means to treat each other with dignity and respect. The next morning, Maya would open her cafe again, serve coffee with a smile, and continue building bridges, one conversation at a time. Because she had learned that real change doesn't happen through grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. It happens in the quiet moments when we choose to see the humanity in each other, one cup of coffee at a time.